Hey, it's Jade. You're joining us for another virtual session with The Current. And today we are bringing you some conversation and live music from Delta Spirit. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Hello.
Hello. So the new album from Delta Spirit is called What Is There? And it's out right now. We're going to be listening to some live music from them in just a minute. Where are you guys right now?
We are at our buddy Joel's house. Our label, our gentleman at our label, say we could come over and pod with him for a minute while we do knock out some radio stuff with you amazing people. And it's kind of a hurricane of insanity over here, but it's really fun. So we're in Nashville, actually, and Brandon is living in San Diego. I'm living in Texas. These two are, Will and Kelly are living in New York. And we're just all convened in Nashville, just at Joel's house. So thanks, Joel.
How'd you feel about the flight? Are you guys feeling like flight okay?
Yeah, flight okay. Flight okay is, I wanted to make that a t-shirt. Everybody wears masks. The social contract is intact, so we're pleased. We all flew on different airlines. It was fine, middle seats were open. Those potted in threes sat together, and it was felt safe, felt super clean. Definitely the cleanest airport experience I'll probably ever have in my life.
Well,
I've seen some dirty airports in my life.
And we'll talk about them in a minute. But I want to go back because this is, the first album in 6 years, and I kind of want you guys to take us into the room the very first day you were all back together. And what did it feel like to be back in a studio, ready to make some music together?
Well, it was kind of funny because we, trying to figure out which amps worked, and we all kind of looked at each other. What song was the first song that we played together?
I don't remember.
Me neither.
And I don't know if anything.
Can you guys hear him?
You can ask me questions.
Yeah. Kelly's basically saying here, we can't remember. But you remember laughing. I remember just being like stumbling through these songs and them kind of working in a way that, a band that had never played together. It's like the rust was there, but underneath the thing that worked was also still very much there. And then we spent 4 or 5 days together just, trying to jam through as many different types of chord progressions and like really loose song ideas as possible to kind of start our songwriting for what would become a new record.
And did you do all the songwriting, all the song building together in one room?
No, a lot of things started in, a lot of the song building happened in Kelly's studio and kind of would make a demo, or I'd make an iPhone demo at the very early stages of our writing. I was in a tiny apartment in Oslo, Norway. Go Vikings, right?
Yeah, exactly. Minnesota shout out.
Yeah, what's up? But there are a lot of Scandinavians out your way. But so a lot of things got written on groove boxes and the iPad GarageBand. Darcy, also big shout out to her drumming ability on the Apple GarageBand. And lots of that stuff. And then we would take that and then meet up and break it out and jam through it until it started to sound like a record. Lots of like little moments from each session kind of survived along the way, which is pretty neat to have the sound of discovery along with the record.
So can you remember a moment where you felt like, yeah, this is it, this is working, this is gonna be a good album?
Oh yeah. When we were jamming How About It, and we finally just heard Brandon capturing the drums and just screaming at himself to like get the part, and then he would just play this monstrous fill, and I'd be like, there it is. And there's just a couple of those things. Will's guitar solos once they settled into the track were those things that just give you the chills and make you dance around your house.
And we were able to just release Will from like just no boundaries on this.
Yeah, this record is definitely the unchained Will McLaren record with the most insane guitar solos of any Delta Spirit record. So.
Well,
sick.
hopefully we'll get to hear one of those guitar solos. And I know people really want to hear some music, so I think we should talk a little bit more in a bit. But first, let's hear a couple of songs from the new album, What Is There? This is Delta Spirit with a virtual session on The Current with It Ain't Easy.
How can a person have nothing left to say? Come and try and lift my suitcase full of sand. How good it feels to be home again. How good it feels to be home again. Struck by the lightning, a little money in my hand. I tried to love you the best that I can. How good it feels to be home How good it feels to be home again. Struck by the lightning, a little money in my hand. I wanna love you the best that I can. How good it feels to be home again.
That was Home Again. This is Delta Spirit joining us for the Currents virtual session. And I saw you guys post something back in March that said it's hard to imagine that just last Wednesday we were playing our first and only show on tour, our first tour back from an almost 5-year break. And can you guys talk about that a little bit? I know you're such a huge live band. You love playing your music live. Has there been any sort of positive that's come out of the fact that you guys aren't on tour right now?
I mean, this is definitely for so many of us been a year of acceptance, and yeah, I mean, we all go in waves of that. It would take a pandemic for me to get off the road for a year, and I spent a lot of that time hanging out with my son, or pretty much all the time hanging out with my now 5-year-old boy, who I missed first steps, first words, just an incredible amount of intimacy and hugs that I've missed out on through the years. And this year, I taught him how to swim. We're off of training wheels, all sorts of things. And it's just such a dream to have that.
So are you finding yourself writing a lot or doing any music, or is that completely kind of, besides things like this, sort of off right now?
There's definitely a bit of music getting written in this time, and we all have our home studios, so there's lots of Dropbox links being sent back and forth, and, you know, hopefully working towards a new bit of Delta Spirit music. We'll see. But in the meantime, it's just we're all in this together. If we had played 2 shows and the rest of the world was moving on without us, I think we'd feel a lot differently. But, you know, we're all in the same situation together and just doing our best to be as kind to each other as we can be, right? So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing, but it's what everybody's doing right now. I saw kind of like the big headline for this new album of you guys has been that we paused the band to save the friendship. And I am curious with this, you know, with the pandemic and you guys all living in different places and you're not on tour right now, how is the friendship? How are you guys keeping those connections going?
We all get on the phone kind of every week or bi-weekly, and we have, you know, our pretty funny text chains with gifts and other hilarious things and moments that have happened, and that's our little community that's rolled along, and it was never hindered by our geographic problem in the first place. So, like before this, we were still communicating and talking and joking around with stupid things that we see.
I feel like that's happening more now with some of my friends that I never talked to before. Now we check in with each other a lot more. for no reason, then it's just, I don't know, becoming more of a habit to send random gifts and funny things to people.
Yeah.
Do you guys,
we're
do you
definitely
find
of
that
the
that's
tribe to
happening
pick
more?
up. Yeah. I think I find that more with my non-musician friends than my musician friends. I think we're a tribe of folks that kind of pick up where we leave off anyway, with other friends that are on tour and things like that. It's, you know what they're kind of the general gist from their Instagram or Facebook, but nobody's above picking up the phone and having it out or talking for half an hour, just catching up with stuff, or a FaceTime.
Yeah, that's the life these days. A lot of bands I talk to say that, when you're in the recording process and when you're writing the album, maybe you come in with a certain theme or there's some sort of idea, but then afterwards, after you finish the album and you're playing the songs and reflecting on it, the meaning of the album changes for you. Did you have that with this album, and if so, sort of what's been that change?
I mean, there's a lot of weird, similarities in our record that kind of parallel with the pandemic, but I gotta re-answer this question. Sorry.
No, I think there is something. I mean, I was looking at the lyrics in your song, and I mean, even the one we just heard.
Up, that kind of thing, like
Yeah.
or what is there, and that song kind of being about the band and how much I love these guys and the journey that we've been on together, and how that's mixed up with expectations of every time you release a record and make that scrapbook to share with the rest of the world, and we share it with ourselves and hold on to it and have these memories. What is there was kind of like the song, and what that song was about, just stepping up to the plate and swinging away, and how that's going to play out. We never imagined that would be doing all of our radio in one day in Nashville together, and having our bass player stuck in Canada. Weird, right?
I think there are so many. Becoming a flexible person, I think, is something necessary for 2020, and being able to, like you said earlier, accept everything that's happening and just kind of allow for things.
The year of
do you find?
acceptance.
Yeah, we'll make that into a T-shirt. There when you're writing these new songs, do you find that it's hard not to talk about things that are right now, either quarantine things or pandemic things, or does the music need to be meaningful because this is such a intense time of global change and civil rights change?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the 20-year-old Vasquez would be trying to write about this a lot more and feeling super self-important that I was going to be the one to solve this song, like Bill and Ted and White Stallions, trying to bring the world together and all of that. But I think now it's just writing songs for the love of the craft, and if they fall in line with those ideas that are in the popular zeitgeist, then cool.
Well, I have very much been enjoying this new album, so I think we should get one last song off of the new album. Again, it's called What Is There? This is The Pressure. It's live from Delta Spirit on the Currents virtual session.
Thank you.
Somebody else
That was The Pressure live from Delta Spirit on the Currents virtual session. And again, Delta Spirit's new album, What Is There? It is out now. Thank you all so much for joining us and bringing us some live music.
Thank you so much for having us.
And thanks to technical producers Jesse and Derek and technical director Veronica. And thank you for watching, and check back for the next virtual session.